A lot of things, Susan, has happened to you. You've been asked to leave many schools you were in. You created difficulties. You were being treated by a psychiatrist outside. And then you admitted at lesson unit, and there were a lot of problems. And now you're at home again. Now, in all this, do you think that there were any actions which you were responsible for?
Sure.
And why do you think you behaved in this way, which caused all these problems?
Because I mixed up.
Susan is 13, although she looks 18. Emotionally, much of the time, she's only about 6. She's an intelligent girl from an upper-middle-class suburban family. But something is lacking in her surroundings, or in herself, or in her relationship with her parents. She finds life dull. She looks for excitement in dangerous directions. She is a girl in danger.
Do you like being in trouble?
Yes.
What's nice about it?
It's excitement. I feel like stealing things all the time. You knew that you were taking a risk of being caught by the police.
Mm-hmm. Were you caught by the police?
No.
Mm-hmm. You were picked up by the police on a couple of occasions, though, eh?
For running away, but not for stealing.
What happened there?
Well, dragged me down to the police station.
Mm-hmm.
And phoned my parents. That's one thing I don't like about policemen. They say they're not going to phone your parents for a while, and the next thing you know, your parents are at the police station.
This is Constable Mombati.
I met Sue one night on the main street of St. Anne's. I stopped the car, I got off the car, and I went to her. And I asked her kindly if she would come with me to the station, that her father and mother was looking for her. But she simply refused, and pushing me and said, "No, I won't."
So he lets go of me, and I start running away, as quick as I can. And comes after me, says, "Come down to the police station." And I start bawling. I said, "But I can't. My father will beat me. My father will beat me." He says, "Your father won't beat you." And I said, "I know."
Dad has never beaten you?
Not really beaten me. Give me a good strapping.
Mm-hmm. What was that over?
I felt like running away, so I ran away. I used to have fun.
Your running away was for some purpose. What was it?
To get back at my parents, usually.
She's not really running away. She's just taking off, and then when it's convenient, she'll come home.
Has she ever been away overnight?
No, never all night, no. But,
what about your feelings about Sue smoking and having boyfriends?
I think we're pretty much, we're agreed on no smoking. And boyfriends, she's only 13 now. She's been after since she was 11 to have boyfriends. We've been so old-fashioned we haven't seen it. We haven't agreed to that but this year we have. There's a great deal of criticism today that children are left on their own, and as a result they become junior delinquents. This wasn't the case in Susan.
It's just that she has too great an interest in boys. And she's not content to be with one boy at a time. It's a whole group of boys, and quite often an undesirable type of boy as far as we're concerned.
Have you ever had any very close relationships with boys?
No.
Why not?
You got me mixed up now. No, I just don't think it's right.
Mm-hmm. What's not right about it in your...
Well, in St. Anne's, if you have a very close relationship with one boy, you have it with every boy. Mm-hmm. That's what I think is cheap.
So you have a fairly strong point at which you say, okay, this is enough. Mm-hmm. What if he doesn't respect that?
I'm in trouble, aren't I?
How have you handled it?
I got a good pair of strong teeth.
Mm-hmm. You bite?
I bite. Oh boy, do I bite.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in any situation in which you haven't been able to control it, even with your strong teeth?
No. Almost so. My mother was looking for me. And the guys knew the way I was acting. They said, "You've taken off again." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Come on, we'll go up to the farm." So long we picked up more and more guys. And there was about 10 boys. And myself.
You're the only girl.
And I thought we were going to the farm. They were showing me a different way to get there. They said it's much prettier this way. I ended up in a place there was nothing around. Nobody or nothing. And they wanted a little more than I could give them. I would give them. And so I took the strongest guy and I bit into his arm. And I said, you better tell them to leave me alone. So he goes, leave her alone. So I walked like this for about till we got back to where people were, and then I ran.
Did you find this an exciting situation or a scary situation?
No, a scary one.
This is Chief Gray.
I've talked to Susan and tried to tell her of the dangers of staying out late at night, the anxiety of her parents during these periods when she is out late at night and not knowing where she is, that there will be the day when she will not be able to handle the boys who she encourages. I have expressed the dangers that being in these cars, she may be overpowered by some of these boys. And in many cases, we've had girls who have been thrown out of the cars, lost their clothing, and found in ditches in the early hours of the morning.
Do you think that she's had an intercourse?
No, I really don't think so. Sue tells...
I don't think so. I don't know.
She tells an awful lot of lies, but I really think she's telling the truth here. I really do. But I do think that she's done an awful lot of, I think what is popularly called these days petting, that kind of thing.
What does Mother say about your relationship with boys?
I think she knows that we go out and neck.
What does necking mean to you?
You just hang around, you know. It doesn't mean anything, really. It depends. Some boys you couldn't care less whether you neck whether or not, and then some guys. Last week I was walking down the main street of St. Anne's with Norman. Had a bunch of guys I knew before yell out, "Hi, sexy," to me. And I don't know. I don't think I'm sexy. A lot of boys do. I don't think I am. I asked Norman seriously. I said, Norman, do you think I'm sexy? He says, you want the truth? I said, yes, I want the truth. He says, yes, you are. I don't think I am. My feelings are all mixed up. Like I feel that I want to have a baby. I do. Only one solution to that.
Yeah, what's the solution?
You know darn well as I do.
There may be many solutions to this.
There's only one solution to make you have a baby.
What's that?
Go whole hog. Right? Right. You knew that, so you didn't have to ask me. Because you're stupid, and I don't think you are.
Think you could get married at... Well, how old are you right now?
13. No, I don't think so.
Don't think, no.
16 is me, even a little young.
Why would it be a little young when you're...
Well, you're not responsible enough.
What does being responsible mean to you?
Knowing how to take care of a home, handle problems at home, know how to handle money yourself, and having to know how to handle kids. Keep them in line and teach them right from wrong.
Now, she was an adopted child. Have you ever regretted adopting her?
No, I would say we've regretted the way things have worked out, but I don't think we've, at least I can't really say that I've ever regretted adopting her.
No, we haven't, because we feel this might have happened. In any event, to children of other ordinary families,
or even our own children.
Could you just tell me about Sue's development from the time you got her?
She was an exceptionally active child and an extremely curious child. She was just into everything. I didn't find this terribly unusual. I just thought she was a very active child.
if we told her not to do anything, it was much more difficult for her to accept it than it was for the boy. And as she grew older, this became more of a problem.
Did you have a period of time when she did very well in school?
Yes.
And when did this stop?
She seemed to do very well in school from the minute she started. and her marks were always quite high, and she was interested in her work. But it wasn't until we started having these difficulties with her, I would say this happened, all this sort of first came to a head. That was when she was 11, just about 2 years ago.
So there was a relationship between the behavior difficulties and the school beginning to drop.
Yes, as soon as we had trouble at home, she was having trouble at school too.
This is Mr. Boone of the public school.
I had Susan last year as a pupil in grade 6. To her, most fun was going against society's rules. She liked to push others around but not be pushed herself. She liked to have a playtime all the time. Work was something that she shouldn't have to do. She was above it. She worked at playing. She worked quite hard in doing everything to distract others, both the pupils and the teacher. We suggested that it would be better if she could go to a boarding school where there was stricter supervision.
This is Miss Jessup of the boarding school.
I'm the home teacher for grade 7, and Susan's in grade 7. She's a very intelligent girl. She did her work well. In school, right away, she was very noisy. She spoke out instead of raising her hand, and gave the answers, more often than others. And I'd have to say, I know you know the answers, Susan, but please give somebody else a chance to answer, you see. Then she took it upon herself to write the homework on the board. So at the end of every period, she'd rush up and say to the class, almost take the part of a teacher, because I think she could be a good teacher. She could be a good in many ways because she's a leader. And she'd rush up and say, this is your homework, class, and write on the homework, you see, for them. But she wasn't too bad in the class. But outside of school, right from the very first week, she broke every rule that anybody could break. And of course, she was always in trouble with the house mother. And she felt from the very, very first that the house mother didn't like her. The house mother said to me the first day of school, there's one girl I'm not impressed with, and named her. She said her parents had put her here because they can't do anything with her.
Sue has really cost you a tremendous amount of money. She's been in 2 private schools, I believe. You sent her away to camp. She's had quite a bit of psychiatric help, which is costly, and she's now at a teenage unit. Have you resented this kind of drain on your finances?
There are times where we must be honest about it, where we have felt that we weren't getting anywhere. But we certainly didn't, if we could get, if it was doing this, we feel most of the time it is doing good, and we don't regret, at least I don't regret anything. And I'm prepared to do as much as I can in the future, too, anything that possibly can be done for her, I'll see that it's done.
You've certainly been through a lot of difficulties with Sue. Do you think you still love her?
Oh, yes, I'm quite sure we do. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Do you think she loves you?
Well, that is something that worries us quite a bit. I mean, once upon a time there wouldn't have been any doubt in our mind at all, but right now, in view of the way she behaves, I don't think it's so much that she doesn't love us, but is she capable of loving us or anybody else? Mm-hmm. Just in the frame of mind that she's in now.
And this makes you feel very sad.
Yes.
Has it affected your personal life?
I know that there have been people who live in the same area who've come in contact with Susan, perhaps through their own children, who have asked friends and neighbors of mine just what the parents of this child are like. So I can see their point of view, because I know in the past I've said so many times myself, when I see something has happened to a child and a child is behaving very badly and becoming delinquent, the first thing I would say, well, what kind of parents have they got? I think it's only a natural thing to say. We sort of feel that then they must have unloving or unnatural parents of some kind, and that it must be the parents' fault.
And what about her present situation? You mentioned that she's now in hospital at Verdun.
Her mental health is not treated in the same way as an ordinary illness.
It still isn't the kind of thing that you really want to discuss with anybody unless you know them very well.
Susan is in a new kind of hospital, one where disturbed adolescents who may have been before the courts can be treated in special ways before delinquency claims them entirely. This is Dr. S.J. Shampsey, Director of the Adolescent Unit, Verdun Protestant Hospital.
It is considered that some of the acting out adolescents require more intensive and more individualized care, which is not possible in such large numbers which are being cared for in these large institutions. There's more than one staff per patient. A disturbed adolescent requires more individualized and more intensive treatment. The important thing is that when the child acts out, when she goes and breaks the window, or when she refuses to go to school, that there is somebody who deals with the situation in a therapeutic way. We make a program for each child which consists of school, such activities as play acting, mock trials, discussions. We give 2 hours of individual psychotherapy and 2 hours of group psychotherapy each week to each child. There is a great emphasis here on working with the families and anybody, in fact, who is significant.
This is Dr. Henry DeRost, Senior Psychiatrist at Verdun Protestant Hospital. How much danger is this girl in?
Well, I would say in very real danger. The police mentioned that she might be attacked or raped or tossed out of a car. These are real things that can happen to her, but perhaps even a greater danger is that if this pattern of defiance of her teachers or parents, the community, persists, almost inevitably she will become part of a group in the community who eventually becomes outside the law. They're the people who become criminals. She could very easily begin a life of prostitution, of crime, have repeated jail sentences. This is delinquency. So far, she's still part of her family, and the problem is still a contained problem. While this is true, treatment is possible.
What about this adoption problem?
Oh, I think it plays a role, but not perhaps in the sense that most people might think.
That is, they haven't just picked a lemon.
No.
There actually is a brother involved, too, who is also adopted, and there's been no difficulty with the brother. I wonder what the difference is here.
Susan is certainly an intelligent, very active child, and one could guess, perhaps, that these are parents who themselves are temperamentally suited better to deal with a more submissive child, are somewhat thrown off balance by an aggressive child like Susan.
So the adoption really doesn't matter.
No, I think the very same type of situation could very well have developed if these had been the actual natural children of the parents.
Yes. What about treatment?
Treatment at home is generally found not very satisfactory with this kind of acting out problem. I think a girl like Susan does better in a setting such as the adolescent unit.
But of course they can't keep her there forever, and it isn't a short-term problem.
No. This is one of the big drawbacks in treatment. Probably several years are necessary, hypothetically. But if one can make a beginning, and I think a real beginning has been made here, and by maintaining contact with Susan and her parents and dealing with problems as they come up with professional help, I think there's a good chance that she will become a good citizen.
It is 7 months later. Susan is home again. All is far from well, but some issues have been clarified. She acts and talks now like a girl of 13, which is her age. She has begun to deal with some of her problems herself, rather than acting them out dangerously.
Now, how long have you been out of the unit?
About a month and a half.
And how are things going?
Well, sometimes they go okay and sometimes they go bad.
What were you expecting to happen?
I was expecting to run away or something stupid.
In some way, yourself is now stronger than it was before. Can you help and control yourself a little better than you did before?
Yes. in some ways.
As long as Susan has her own way, everything is fine. And I'm quite sure that if I said yes, Susan, there'd be no problem. We would have no difficulty.
But Susan was having her own way with you.
Quite a bit, yes.
Do you think that could have caused some of the problems Susan was suffering from?
No, I don't think so. She lacks control anyway. She can't come in at a certain time. She lacks control with her diet. She lacks control of her temper.
Well, I do try and be in on time, but I haven't got a watch. And if I ask somebody else what time it is, maybe their watch isn't exactly the same as ours. But I come in, and if nobody has a watch, I come in when I think it's about the right time. And if I'm 10 minutes late, I get in trouble, and I have to stay in the next night.
No.
Yes.
I have told her that I'm not going to put up with her lying and cheating and her defiance and tell me that she won't do what she's told when her mother tells her to come in, and the other one that I just won't put up with it. We've put up with it all these years, and that she's got to do something about it. We can only go so far.
Could you think the reason why suddenly your relationship with your father, not suddenly, but over the past few months, has changed?
Well, I know that my father and I used to be very close. And everybody said that I was his pet. And I was his pet. I had him wrapped around my little finger. Well, I did.
You did, unfortunately, yeah.
And then I started getting closer to Mummy. And closer and closer. I don't have her wrapped around my little finger or anything. But I'm closer to her now than I was before. And I think my father resents it.
Father is sort of jealous about that. And he would like to have a much closer relationship with you.
He won't admit it.
He won't admit it. Well, let's ask him whether he does or not. Do you agree to that? That's a fairly interesting statement Susan has made. Now, a little girl changing into a woman, do you think that has affected your relationship somehow?
No, I feel that it's more that I felt possibly I was too indulgent with it before and that it wasn't doing her any good.
You said that you were too indulgent, and Susan has put it in a different way. She said that she had wrapped you around her little finger. Were you conscious of that?
Not particularly, yes.
Were you conscious of that? You were conscious of that.
Yes.
The Susan had her father wrapped around her.
Yes, and I feel that Alan was always a peaceful sort of creature, and sometimes when perhaps he should have put his foot down more heavily, he didn't. He'd say, oh, for the sake of peace and quietness, we'll just let it go.
Were you angry with your husband for taking this very indulgent attitude towards Susan?
Well, I felt that perhaps these situations perhaps wouldn't arise as frequently if he had backed me up a little more. This was a couple of years ago, when we first started having these problems.
How did you feel when you felt that you had your father wrapped around your little finger? Did you feel good about it?
No.
Were you unhappy?
Sort of.
You prefer your father to act in the way he's acting at present?
Sort of.
But yet you want him to change.
Yeah, I don't want him to be quite so mean. I want to have him wrapped around my little finger. But I don't want him to be so mean. Or...
How mean have I been?
Very mean.
I mean mean because you didn't get your own way.
No, you're angry all the time.
Well, I don't think so.
You embarrassed me in front of my friends, like you raised your hand to Linda yesterday. You scared the pants off her. She thought you were going to hit her and she ducked.
Oh, when was that?
You did.
Oh, you got a fertile imagination.
I do not. She told me.
Linda and I are very good friends.
Are you satisfied with the progress you're making at home?
Part of it.
You think there is something you can do about to make them work better?
I don't know.
Would you like them to work out better?
Oh, yes.
Now, this girl says she's all mixed up, and pretty obviously she is, but she's had a lot of treatment. What's happened?
Well, it may sound paradoxical that to say that when the patient begins to feel mixed up, that they're better than they were before, but in this case I think it's really true. If you recall how this girl projected herself as someone 17, 18, very sophisticated, smoking a cigarette, very polished, very knowledgeable about all kinds of things that most 13-year-olds don't know anything about. And in a constant series of conflicts with her parents, with the community, with the police, with the teachers, the parents of her friends. At that time, I think if you'd asked her, she would have said, there's really nothing wrong with me. I'm just doing the kind of things that I want to do. My parents are stuffy. They're old-fashioned. She wouldn't have said, I'm mixed up.
She would have blamed everyone else but herself.
Yes, she was, technically, I suppose one would say that the whole problem was being externalized.
And now she is involved herself.
Now it's become her problem. When she says, I'm mixed up, I think she means that she now begins to realize that what she's been doing is not for her a good thing. Perhaps she's feeling some guilt, which perhaps is appropriate in view of the things that she's been doing.
And in this sense, healthy.
And very healthy. So this is actually a very distinct improvement in this girl.
I guess we've just got to more or less steel ourselves to the thinking that it's something that we've got to live with and work on for a great number of years. How we're going to fill in those years in between this, I really don't know. I don't like to think about that too much.